Because I am the master of you and everything else in the world.
The Count's voice rang out from all directions.
For I am the master of darkness.
Hi there. Dark fantasy, horror, gothic adventure. If you just love these genres, you must see this video out. And please click the like button, because in this video I have a conversation with C.L. Holmes, the mysterious author of the simply wonderful epic Count at Play and Slaughter series, which consists of 5 books tipped to reach the heights of popularity of the Harry Potter series and Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. You just heard a tiny snippet of my narration from the audiobook version of Book 1 in the series, Amalina and the Secrets of the Wailing Castle. And wow, listen to these glowing comments on Amazon. It has the eerie tension of a classic Gothic tale, but with a playful modern twist. 5 stars. The story's twists kept me guessing, and I couldn't put it down. 5 stars. A good combination of horror and entertainment. 5 stars. Late night reading has never been this rewarding. 5 stars. For this book, I listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by Andy Stevenson, who gave a wonderful performance. 5 stars. Oh, thank you so much. The books follow Amalina, a teenage girl who is recruited, she would say kidnapped, into the service of the Count of Ardil, who may or may not be a vampire or even a strigoi, but he sure does like the taste of blood. In his ancient and dark and foreboding castle high up in the mountains, somewhere in Eastern Europe in or around the 18th century. So far I have narrated the first 2 books in the series, and check out my videos which review each of those 2 books. The links are in the notes below. And they're available in ebook and print form on Amazon, as well as in audiobook form on Audible. These videos will give you more information and insight into the books, which will make the conversation that I have with C.L. Holmes in this video more meaningful. And by the way, as I mentioned, all 5 books in the series are available individually on Amazon, as well as a mammoth omnibus version available in ebook form only that gathers together the complete series. The omnibus is free of charge if you have Kindle Unlimited membership. Wow! So, I described C.L. Holmes as mysterious. How so? Well, he certainly adopts a low public profile. Okay, he has his books selling on Amazon and he has a website, but search across the internet and you won't find him conversing on social media, and you won't find any photos of him. Just a little sketch. Here it is. Now, why is this? C.L. lives just outside Chicago in the US, whilst I live in Cumbria in the UK. We've never met face to face, of course, and rather than me conduct an interview with him over Zoom, he wanted to maintain his privacy by instead recording his answers to some questions that I sent him earlier. So in this conversation, I'll ask the questions and you'll hear his fascinating answers, but not in conversation as such, even though I call this a conversation, but more in a form of a transatlantic response. So you won't get to see his face, but you will get to hear his voice. Now, it's a longish video, but if you love dark fantasy books or intelligent horror books, and you want to check out an epic in the making, then stick with it, as this series will definitely be perfect for you. One day, it is going to take the world by storm, believe me. If you find the video a bit long, you can always pause it and come back to it later. And to set you on your way, at the end of the video, I'll tell you how you can get a free copy of the audiobook version of Book 1 in the series, Amalina and the Secrets of the Wailing Castle. So, I started by asking CL whether that mysterious persona of his was accidental or deliberate. Hi CL, thank you so much for agreeing to this conversation for my channel. It's a really exciting moment for me to conduct the first ever audio interview with you. Now, I have 13 questions for you, and I'm sure you're going to score 100% on them and enlighten our viewers at the same time. So let's start with the first question. In the lead-in to this conversation, I built an air of mystique around you, and I'd be interested to know if you made a conscious decision to develop this mysterious persona, or was it just, well, accidental?
That is completely unintentional. I work in media, and just to, cut out confusion, people feel like, a person gets put into a pigeonhole. Oh, you do this, you do that, da 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 da. In any case, I've written and directed before under like my regular name or other names. And so when I decided to do this, the books and the series, I was like, okay, so C.L. Holmes will be the name I use for Gothic horror or whatever this happens to be. And then it'll be that. And then, because nowadays you have to have a author's image to go along with it. I wasn't particularly satisfied with any of my headshots. I'm not, like the most photogenic person, I guess. It's not like I'm hideous, but, I've never heard my wife's friends go, "Oh, we're so jealous your husband is so handsome." So, in any case, not being satisfied with the photos that I was looking at, I was just like, I do have this portrait that was, done in, I don't know if it was charcoal or pencil or something like that. And, I kind of like the look of that one. It's kind of quirky. And I thought, you know what? If this is going to be Gothic or horror or like, kind of old fashioned, a portrait like that might, work better. In any case, so then it led to, okay, here's a name, C.L. Holmes, don't really know who that is. C.L., is that, a guy or a girl, who knows? Obviously I'm a guy. And, the image isn't a photograph, so, what does this person really look like? And so I guess that, makes, some kind of question, slightly enigmatic or something like that. But anyway, so that it wasn't unintentional, or it was totally unintentional. I had no idea that there'd be a any mystery about it. But in any case, that really doesn't have anything to do with my writing, and is by the way. So all right.
Okay, interesting. Thanks for that. Yes, I like that sketch, and it certainly has a gothic air of mystery about it. But on to question number 2, and my apologies that it is not a very original one, but have you always been a writer?
Yeah, I'll say, I've always been a writer. I mean, I think everybody on this planet, we're all just like storytellers, starting from like little kids, just making stuff up, trying to make excuses, da-da-da. And in any case, I take the trouble to write it down. So that makes me a writer. So, I'm a writer. And I mean, I was doing comic books when I was a little kid. And committed stuff to paper. I'm a writer. And I always have been.
So you've always had this writer's gene. Well, it's similar to me. I've always wanted to perform one way or the other, but whilst I can manage to pen a script, I don't think I would ever have the patience or the discipline to write a novel. Anyway, can you recall what the first story you ever wrote was about?
Okay, so I actually know my first bona fide story. Is when I was in the first grade, and I was writing something for a school writing competition. Not sure why I was inspired to do that in first grade, but I had this burning desire to write a story. I don't remember how the whole story plays out, but I remember the title of it because it's kind of dopey. In any case, it was The Chick That Learned to Say Moo. The Chick That Learned to Say Moo. Okay, so apparently I was already interested in exploring, the question of nature versus nurture before I even knew that was a thing. I guess it was, some sad story about like a baby chick who was orphaned or something and got stuck in the side of a barn and raised by the cows, and then learned to say moo. It was kind of like I said, dopey. I don't know exactly what I was getting at. I don't remember how the whole thing plays out, but I do remember one thing about the whole experience because it's first grader, so it's not electrifying or any fantastic writing, and of course I didn't come in first place or anything like that. I think I got like a runner-up prize or something, which I was very proud of. But I'll never forget. There's the person who actually got first place was in my class, and she got first place. I don't remember the name of the story. I don't remember exactly what the story was, but I do remember a few years later learning that she had actually just taken the story from an actual published story that was out there. So she just faked it. She just put her name on it and then got the top prize, which I don't know if it's life defining or anything, but I'll tell you, like 10-year-old me, it sent up a vein of bitterness, which has stuck around, and I don't know, keeps me wary and humble. Accolades don't really mean anything. They're good to help with advertising, and if I get a great review or an award or something, that'll make me feel great for weeks, and I'll take it. But still, things can be political, or things can be just somebody could cheat. So whatever. That stuck around with me.
Okay, well, The Chick That Moos sounds a pretty original storyline to me, and I really think it's an outrage that you didn't win that competition, especially against a plagiarist. But you've certainly shrugged that early disappointment off, and this huge imaginative saga that you have written, the Count at Play and Slaughter series, proves you should have won easily. Where did you get the inspiration for the series from?
Okay, so the whole inspiration for the story that became this series, the Count and Play and Slaughter series, it came in bits and pieces, and I would say the first inspiration was just watching Roman Polanski's it's the Fabulous Vampire Killers. I think that's the name of it. And I don't know, he just created this like cool little world that's outside of Dracula and all those famous monsters. Just like, oh yeah, these creatures kind of can have their own little histories and own little corners of the world. I always liked that, and I kind of wanted to make something that was like set in that universe. But then there's like a whole bunch of other stuff where I had this have these ideas where it's like, in a horror story, the victims are usually like these nameless, or they have an identity for about 10 to 20 seconds to a few minutes, and then they're discarded when they become a victim. And I was like, well, what happens if a victim just doesn't remain a victim? What happens if one ends up existing in that? Also, Dario Argento did a take on Dracula. They called Dracula, which was really horrible. I not a great movie, but I love the chaos of it, like the whole chaotic take of Dracula in that one. And then in any case, how this story kind of works. Vampire, the word and all that, the whole concept and legend, that didn't really like come around till like after the 1600s, 1700s. There was Dampier and Strigoi and stuff like that. But I was also I was like, why not has there ever been a story where there's a monster that doesn't know what it is, right? Because we don't know what we are when we're born, right? And so here's this creature that has like all the characteristics of something that we in the 20th, 21st century, could put a label on. But what happens if there's, this creature that, exists and is not quite aware of what it is necessarily? Gee, I hope I'm not doing any spoilers here. In any case, doesn't really know what it is. And like all these like Strigoi, vampire, stuff like that, these names, these stories, sometimes apocryphal, rise up around him to try to explain him, right? I know that's not like the main point of the story, but anyway, these were all the things that went into creating the initial story idea that I started to work with. But this started as one story, and then it became something different. I guess I'll leave it there. That's the inspiration.
Okay, thanks, CL. That's interesting. So, leading on from that, is there a specific, perhaps profound message in the series? And if so, do you want to reveal it or keep it a secret?
It's funny there. One of the people who help proofread and stuff, she was saying, is there a specific theme to this? I was like, I can't say what it is. Not that it would spoil it to anybody. Yeah, I was a fan of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books, and the funny thing is, I actually had started this series, written at least 3 of the books before I ever my son was huge into the Harry Potter books, and I was just like, well, everybody seems to really like this. Maybe I should give it a shot. I think I watched a couple of the movies or something, and I thought it was just like kiddie stuff or whatever. Much better than that. I was obviously a great writer, and I was taken away by it. But then I'd read some interview where she said that the theme of the Harry Potter books or the series was love, and I was thinking, that's funny because I for some reason that's easy. Love, everybody loves. You think, or they are loved, or whatever. And I taken a much harder tack to take, which is my whole thing was about responsibility, where our lives are. Whether based on love or whatever, we have responsibilities, and so it's like somebody having to do what they need to do or what they feel that they need to do, but what really are we responsible for? Anyway, so it's responsibility is the main theme of the books or of the series. Man, should it have been love? I don't know. There's love in it, I think.
Well, as the Beatles sang, all you need is love, but maybe they should have added, and responsibility. But yes, there is love, respect, affection, and even hero worship in the series, and there are, of course, loads of different characters appearing across the series, and many really stand out as having unique and unusual characteristics and temperament, loving or not. They are brilliantly crafted, and that made it so easy for me to recognise fashion and portray their personalities. How do you do it? Are any of the characters based on any people you know or have come across?
With characters, there's always, I think every writer does this, where they, base this on this person or that person. I mean, some characters I have in the book are, they're made up more or less, but basically every character, and for sure some characters, are based on people that I know. I mean, this sounds kind of weird, coming from a, for a horror book, horror story, gothic story or something like that, but oh yes, for sure. I mean, that's another thing that went into the books, or the reason why I made the books. I had situations and people that was just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is going to be the model for this is going to be the model for that, and of course I'm never going to say who is the model for what, and nobody would know who they are anyway, but I certainly don't want to piss anybody off in case they might get offended. Or complimented, I don't know. In any case, so a lot of characters are amalgamations of different characters, or I shouldn't say characters, different people that I know, personalities and stuff like that. They're all people that I've come across and I've noted down in my head, because they say write what you know, and I mean, I don't necessarily know 16th century Ardeel. That's all like a creation in my head, and what I can research, but personalities and people I do know and have known, and they're always interesting when they interact with each other. So yes, there are a bunch of characters that are specifically based on certain people.
Right, well, your secret is safe with me and all of our viewers. Okay, so out of the hundreds of characters in the books, who would you say is your standout one, your favourite?
As the writer, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I like and or hate all the characters to one degree or another. I sympathize with them. There are pieces of me in all the different characters, or you say the books. I mean, this is a series, and actually my most favorite character in the series is a character that is in one of the books that you haven't narrated yet. They come later in the series, kind of a tragic figure. But in any case, but then there are like series characters that span the whole series. Obviously, I should like Amalina because she's the heroine, but kind of like James Bond, the main character becomes kind of like the substrate to the to the story itself, and so then all the other characters key off of them or something, or she keys off of them or something. In any case, well, yeah, I mean, there's Amalina, there's the Count. There are times that I find myself drawn to that character. I'll say that series favorites. People really like Gennady, and I really like Gennady. And also there are a number of people who really like Attila, who barely shows up in the first book. He just kind of gets introduced, and I'll say he's actually one of my favorite characters too, Attila. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure if I'm answering your question properly, because I don't have a specific one character that is my favorite. Gotta love them all.
Okay, well, that's a good answer. As there are so many, it would be hard to pick just the one. From my point of view, from the narrator's angle, I love doing the Count's voice, so I'm always glad when he is in the scene. Okay, moving on. Now, there seems to be a difference of opinion out there as to whether the book should be classed as belonging to the horror genre or the fantasy genre. What's your opinion?
I mean, it had its origin in horror. That was the original idea. And I guess Gothic horror is the thing, because it's set way back when. And in, like a Eastern European setting. So they just, it's Gothic horror. But then in some reviews I read, people were saying it's not Gothic horror, it's dark fantasy. And I will be honest with you, I had absolutely no idea there was such a thing as dark fantasy. I would have taken that as like, dark elves or something like that. Something in a Tolkien mythos kind of fantasy is like sword and sorcery, I always thought. Or you could have sci-fi fantasy, which would be, Star Wars or something like that. But in any case, so it was, it came to my attention that there's such thing as dark fantasy, and I guess that's what I'm writing in. Dark fantasy. Because it's not, there's humor in the books. It's not all about, some, killer stalking people and stuff like that. There's death and violence and stuff like that, but that's not the centerpiece of it, I guess. So that discounts it from being horror, I suppose. But, there are plenty of people, including my mom, who, would not read this material because it's too scary. It's too spooky. It's horror. So I'd say horror, but I've been told otherwise.
Yeah, my elder sister is like your mum. Anything with a supposed vampire in it would unfortunately not be something she would want to listen to or read, sadly. But each to their own. Okay, so the series is pretty huge and it certainly merits an epic label. How long did it take you to write? Do you write quickly or painstakingly?
It has been 7 years. I mean, it's hard to say because I came up with the idea quite a while back, but little pieces came here and there until finally, it reached a critical mass, and it's like, okay, I'm writing this. So I think it's been 7 years writing the series. I actually write pretty quickly. It comes down to the editing. So I'll do. I think Lovecraft wrote this way or something, where you write it really quickly, as quick as you can, trying to be as intuitive as it goes along. But then you go back over it with a fine-tooth comb, and that's the painstaking part. Is trying to fix the mistakes so a little of both, I would say. But overall, I think I average one book a year. Like some of the other, like the last book is like 600 pages, and that took maybe a couple years to write and then edit. So I don't know if that's fast or not. I still think it's pretty fast. I've written for magazines before, and you have to, or as a staff person, you have to write on a deadline. I've worked with deadlines a lot, so I know how to, put myself in front of a, a screen and type as quickly as possible. Then edit.
It's absolutely the same with audiobook narration. The editing takes twice as long as the actual reading out loud through the mic. Now, being someone who has never written anything much longer than a shopping list, I'm interested to know, do you have to plan a complete book before you start writing it, or in this case a complete series, or did it evolve as you walked your way through it?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question, only because I like things structured. I mean, I know there are writers that don't have anything in front of them when they start writing, just wing it, and other people have it like outlined, to the nth degree. I really do kind of need to know the bones of it in order to write it, because I don't know if it's like a scary thing or something like, oh, I don't know where this is going to go or something like that. But I need to know that there's something that I'm working toward. But that being said, this whole series was originally just one story. It's a good thing I didn't write it as one story, because the book would have been like probably 2,000 pages or something like that. The publisher, said, "Oh, well, do you think you could do a series? Series are kind of popular." And the story, the kind of outline loose outline that I had in the beginning, it was obvious that there were movements, or the story itself was episodic. And so I was like, I could do that. I could break it down into a number of different books. I wasn't sure how many books it would be, but from the initial story, I had a complete idea of the story. And so, since I was kind of being given this opportunity to write a series, I was like, okay, you know what, I could do that. That should be fun. So I'll try to. In any case, I'll have each episode, each book have its own kind of tone to it, its own atmosphere. One's just like a small, simple tale. That's where it starts. But then, as the story itself grows, and characters are added and new shades put onto it, it'll also have a different tone, a different atmosphere. And when you're writing, you allow anything to happen. Writing impulsively, kind of by the seat of your pants, I have a direction, because I had like this skeleton that I created, but that can go out the window in a second. I'm writing toward that end, but that doesn't have to be the end. And I don't know, it sounds kind of artsy fartsy, but the characters kind of like live. It's hard to quite describe it, but they make their own decisions. It's really hard to describe it, but like if you have these characters in mind, and they become actual like characters in your mind, they might think of something that you didn't think of. I mean, obviously you're thinking of it, but in any case, they come up with something that is just like a total wild hair, and you're like, oh shoot, I hadn't thought about that. Well, now I'm gonna have to do this, and trajectories change, and then you have to realign the skeleton to account for that, and go, okay, I thought I was going here. Now I'm going to go over there, and seriously, to the point where there's a character that I had thought of, and I thought was going to be a main character in this series. She doesn't appear till later on, but in any case, she was going to be like a main crucial character to Amalina's particular story, and that didn't happen. And as a matter of fact, one of the characters that I thought was going to be a throwaway at one point becomes a more crucial character to the overall story. Again, this isn't in the first couple books. This is like later on in the series. But in any case, so I really try to have something that I'm writing toward, but it is easy to evolve on its own, and that happens. And it's fun when it works. It can be frustrating when suddenly everything you thought was going to be there is suddenly not there anymore, and you have to spend a few days figuring out, oh shoot, how do I get out of that corner that I just painted myself into?
Oh, well, the idea that the characters begin to dictate the direction the story or series is heading in is a really fascinating one. Talk about characters coming to life. Okay, now, having spent so much time and effort on these wonderful books, what are your objectives for the series now?
Okay, let me think about this. Objectives for the series. I mean, my objective for the books is to sell a lot of books. Just I thought I came up with an interesting story, an interesting series, and so I'd like to get that out to as many people who'd be interested in that story as possible. Just to get it out there and make it as widespread as it can get. Just to get it known to the people who would respond to it, who jive with it. I don't think I have any other objectives with it other than like if I could get enough sales to justify my continuing with some of the characters or something, or make it popular enough so that it can be adapted into a TV series. I mean, to be honest, also way back, I've worked in different media. I've directed and stuff like that, and when I was like fumbling around with the different story ideas, I mean, I had thought at one point, oh, this would make a good, and then fill in the blank. It would make a good TV series. I don't think it would make a good movie because there's just too much to it, but a good TV series or a graphic novel or a series of comic books. There are all these like visual things that I had in my head. Some of them made it into the books. Maybe to give it the story enough boost so that it can like leap off the page and who knows, onto some streaming platform series.
Wow. Well, I love the idea of a TV series. I don't know whether it's the same in the US, but here in the UK, TV drama all seems to be on the same theme. Crime, murder, police, detectives, all who have challenges in their lives outside of the force, of course. Oh, it's got so monotonous, and something like this series would be fantastic. And yeah, there has been a few vampire stories over the years, but not for quite a while, and this would be so different. So I really wish you all the luck in the world. TV executives out there, get in touch with C.L. Holmes, as there is a blockbuster series to be made here. Okay, C.L., well, we've reached the final question, and it is predictably perhaps one that looks forward. What are your plans now for the future? Will you be writing more books?
I've already written another book. I guess that goes to my being a writer. I'm kind of compulsive, so yeah, I've already written like another book. It just got put out, but it's not under C.L. Holmes. It's under a totally different moniker, and it's my the name I go under for a for modern stories, because with that name I also do horror, science fiction-ish, but in any case stuff in or just regular, dramatic stories or something like that. But in any case, stuff that's set in the modern world, and it's not as the writing is a lot more terse and stuff like that. Anyway, so I've already been writing. But that being said, plans for the future. If there's enough interest, if there's I already have two other two other series for Amalina already like in my head. The initial story, the Count and Play and Slaughter series, that one's done. It comes to a complete end. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, some of the characters I have ideas for a whole, at least, well, for sure, two other series. But that would depend on if get enough sales and so there's enough interest for some of these characters continuing. It'd be slightly different genre, I'd say. Maybe do some more stuff in different media as well. I mean, that's just me. I just work with whatever I feel like I should do. So maybe you should cut this in earlier. I don't know how it would work in, but now that I'm thinking about it, because you said, does stuff evolve? I say another way it evolved, and this is the strange thing, because I was already like on to like the last two books, and it evolved in a strange way where, we started doing the audiobooks, you and I, and I have character voices in my head. You did such a great job with, bringing the books to life, and your voice is great. And for the most part, like all the character voices are, pretty much like what I would hear in my head. But you actually had a different take, I guess, for a couple of the different characters, and your voice actually, or the version you were doing, stuck in my head to the point where when I was like writing for those characters, your voice is what took over their voices in the in my writing and when I would think about it, just because I liked it so much. You got a great voice, so I love these audiobooks. You did such a great job with book 1 and book 2. This is a series. I would love to finish this series with you as the narrator for the entire series. That'd be great if the interest in money is there or whatever. To complete it, because it's a lot of pages. That would definitely be something I would want to be doing, and what I would like to actually put into concrete plans for the future. All right, okay. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for thanks for having me on your YouTube channel, and talk to you soon. Bye.
That's it. Thanks so much, CL, for taking the time to conduct this remote conversation. I've found it fascinating to hear what you have to say about the series and your life as an author, and I wish you all the best for the series, and in particular that it gets the acclaim that your time, effort and imagination in writing it deserves. And having narrated the first 2 books of the 5, I do hope that we can complete the series in due course. All the best, CL. Thanks again. It's been a pleasure. Okay, so now here's your chance to get a free copy of Book 1, Amalina and the Secrets of the Wailing Castle, which kicks off the whole series. I will send you a free Audible download code so that you can listen to the whole book free of charge and without any requirement to take out a permanent Audible subscription if you don't already have one. In return, CL and myself would be grateful if you could leave an honest review on Audible once you have listened to it. So to get your free download code, simply visit my website. The address is in the notes below as well as here. Go to the audiobooks page and then click on the free audiobook request form that will pop up, on which all you have to do is enter your name and email address, and I will then email you your unique code. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, remember to click on that like button. And to get access to more of my videos on all things about audiobooks for authors, narrators and listeners, please subscribe free of charge to my channel by hitting that subscribe button. Thanks from both CL and me for watching, and see me again soon. Bye for now.